conference will now be recorded.
So in today's session, we are going to discuss about JavaScript programming, and we have to understand what exactly JavaScript and what we can do with the help of JavaScript, and where we can use this as JavaScript programming. We'll see, and then we'll see what kind of environmental setup that we need to use to write the JavaScript code, to execute, to view the results, and as part of this JavaScript programming here, whenever we are using this JavaScript programming, how can we implement the client-side business logics, and how to implement these features? We'll see one by one. And as part of this JavaScript programming, what are the various fundamental building blocks that we have? Like what data types that we have, and then what kind of operators that we have in JavaScript, and then what kind of conditional statements, what kind of iterative statements, what kind of string functions that we have, and then what output statements that we have in JavaScript, and how to represent the results, how to prepare arrays, how to prepare objects, how to prepare functions. We'll see practically here. Okay, now. So now JavaScript is very, very important here. So whenever we are implementing any business logic in Lightning experience, okay, that we have to implement through JavaScript only here. Without the JavaScript, you can't do anything in Lightning framework. Okay, now let's see. So first of all, we have to understand what exactly the JavaScript programming. So basically, JavaScript is a lightweight interpreter-based programming language. JavaScript is a lightweight interpreter-based programming languages, which can be used to implement the client-side business logics. Client side means what? Okay, in our local system. In our local system here, what is the client? Client means browser. Because we are accessing our Salesforce application through browser. That browser will be called as okay, client. Inside the browser, we need to execute some piece of code. Inside the browser, we need to execute some piece of code. So that here we are calling it as client-side business logic. It's not executing inside the Salesforce server. It doesn't require Apex compiler. It doesn't require Apex runtime engine. It doesn't require metadata repository here. So now it is always executing inside my local system, inside the browser itself. So that's what here, we no need to make any request to server, we no need to depend on the server, we no need to put some load on the server, we can execute that within our local client itself, inside the browser itself. That's what it is called as a lightweight. Okay, this is a lightweight. So JavaScript is a lightweight interpreter-based programming. Here you can raise the question, sir, what is interpreter-based programming? What is compiler-based programming here? When you go to the programming languages, these are the two categories here: interpreter-based, compiler-based. Apex is compiler-based. JavaScript is interpreter-based. Then what is this interpreter based? What is the compiler based? What is the difference between these two? Now let me explain. Now let's come to the compiler based here first. Compiler based programming. Like we have Pascal, C, C++, Java, C Sharp, VB.NET, VC++, Python, Apex. These are all comes under compiler based. Okay, these are all comes under compiler based. Then how the functionality will be executing in the compiler base? Now let me explain. For example, I have an editor. In this editor, I have written some piece of code by using our Apex program. That means any of the compiler base, no problem. Now, I have written some piece of code. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. Like that here, I have written some 100 lines of code. Total 100 lines of code I have written as part of my application development by using compiler based. Now, once the code has been getting prepared, we need to compile the code first, right? Yes. Directly we can't execute. The code should be compiled first, then only execute that piece of code. Now, so now in this case, it will be executing this piece of code here. Upon compiling the code, it will check that line by line syntax. First line syntax, correct. Second line, done. Third line, done. Fourth line, done. In the line number 10, for example, there is some syntactical mistakes over here. It will identify there is a syntactical mistakes. Even though if there is any syntactical mistakes in the line number 10, it will compile the remaining lines also here. In the line number, okay, 45, one more syntactical mistake here. It will check that here. In the line number 95, one more syntactical mistake. Now, even though it is having some syntactical mistake, like a partial processing mechanism, as part of database classes, we have discussed partial processing mechanism. That means upon processing the records, in the middle of the processing, if any of the record operation is failed, just it will skip the record, continue with the remaining records as it is. That is the same functionality will be happening in compiler based. So now it is going to be checking the line by line syntax over here. Upon verifying the line syntactical mistakes, if there is any syntactical mistakes has been found, just it will ignore that. It will continue with the remaining lines of syntax. It will be okay, ignoring the second error also, third error also, and it will check all the lines of syntaxes over here. Once all the 100 lines of syntaxes have been verified, then it will show the compilation errors. Boss, during our compilation, we have identified 3 mistakes. At line number 10, this is a mistake. At line number 45, there is a mistake. At the line number 95, this is a mistake. That means all the mistakes will be getting visible at a time. This is how compiler-based programming will work internally here. Clear? Even though if there is any mistake has been identified, it will check in the remaining lines also over here. Maybe in other lines there are some syntactical mistakes may be available. Okay, so now here this is the process will be happening as part of compiler based. Now, when coming to the JavaScript, it is purely interpreter based. How interpreter based will work? Okay, now let me explain. Now, as part of interpreter based, we are having JavaScript, we are having VBScript, we are having any other scripting libraries. Scripting libraries. So, what scripting libraries are available? For example, jQuery, AngularJS, Knockout.js, Extension.js, Backbone.js, and then we are having React.js, MeanStack. These are all comes under JavaScript libraries. That means these frameworks are being purely built upon JavaScript. Okay, so these all are interpreter-based programming languages here. Now, as part of this interpreter-based programming, how it works, now let me explain here. For example, here by using this any one of this interpreter-based programming, so now we have written some 100 lines of code. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, like that here I have written some 100 lines of code. Now, so now here in this case, it is checking that line by line syntax over here. Upon checking the line by line syntax here, for example, in the line number 45, it has identified some mistake. Once a mistake has been identified, to stop interpreting the code from here itself. It won't check the remaining lines of syntaxes here. We need to fix that issue first, then only it will be moving to next lines over here. Okay, the two, as part of this interpreter-based programming, okay, we don't have any debugging mechanisms here. We can't specify a breakpoint. We can't debug the line by line code. We can't debug. If it is a compiler-based programming, we can able to debug the code also here. Line by line syntax, we can able to cross-check, and then we can check what is happening upon executing the code line by line. We can verify. But here, as part of interpreter-based programming, we don't have any such kind of debugging mechanisms over there. Okay, so whenever it is going to be checking the syntaxes in the line number 45, if there is any line is having any syntactical mistakes, immediately it will stop that interpretation here itself. It will show the error message. This is the problem that we have identified. Okay, so now we need to rectify the problem. Then only it will be checking the remaining lines of code over here, or else it won't check. This is how interpreter-based programming will work. Now, these interpreter-based programming will be called as scripting languages. These are called as scripting languages. Okay, these are called as scripting languages. Now, so now here in this case, these are always executing inside the client side. That means within the browser itself here, not inside your Salesforce server. So that's what these are called as lightweight, because it is not putting some load on the server. It is not sending any request to the server because server is not required here. We no need of any server interactions here. Everything we can do inside the browser itself. So now here in this case, we no need to use that server. So it won't put some load on the server. We can make that server lightweight over here. That's what here, when coming to that JavaScript is an interpreter-based, okay, lightweight programming language, which can be used to implement client-side business logic, which will be executing within our browser itself. Now, as part of this JavaScript programming here, JavaScript programming will be purely executing inside the browser level, so that here you can use any browser also. You no need to install any browser additionally inside your local device. You can use any browser, whatever we have. It may be Netscape Navigator also, or it may be like as Microsoft Internet Explorer, or Microsoft Edge, or it may be Chrome, it may be Firefox, it may be Opera, it may be Safari. Anything here, all the browsers will support this JavaScript. So JavaScript will be supporting by all the browsers available in our IT industry. Now, so basically, this JavaScript has been implemented by the Netscape Navigator people. Sometime before, we don't have this kind of all these browsers like Chrome browser, Firefox, Safari, Opera. These kind of browsers are not available. Almost in 2004 and 2006, during the time we are having only one browser, that is called Netscape Navigator. Netscape Navigator. We are having only one browser is available, that is Netscape Navigator here. Later we got Microsoft Internet Explorer from Microsoft. Now, so in this case, this JavaScript has been implemented by the Netscape Navigator organization here. Netscape is an organization which they have built their own browser that is called as Netscape Navigator over here. So by building this JavaScript, initially they have given the name as ECMAScript. Initial name of this JavaScript is ECMAScript. Okay, ECMAScript is the initial name of JavaScript. Later, they have changed the name from ECMAScript to JavaScript. Now they have changed the name as JavaScript. Initial name of JavaScript is ECMAScript, and then later they have changed the name to JavaScript. Now JavaScript is very, very popular. No, JavaScript is very, very popular. Then where we can use this is JavaScript here. JavaScript will be using, okay, in all the applications, including your desktop applications, mobile applications, and in that smartphone applications also. Everywhere we can use this is JavaScript over there. JavaScript is one of the common language, common scripting language, which can be used in all the programming languages over here. In all the applications, we are using JavaScript, including desktop applications also, web-based applications also, mobile applications also, smartphones also, gaming applications also. It may be like a smartwatches also, robotic applications also here, drone programming also. Everywhere we are using JavaScript. JavaScript is very, very popular programming language nowadays. And the two, JavaScript is having so many enhancements here. Initially, JavaScript is purely having only basic functionalities. Now, JavaScript is also one of the object-oriented programming feature. JavaScript will support object-oriented programming principle, so that here JavaScript also one of the object-oriented programming that we have in IT industry nowadays. Now, so now here in this case, when coming to the JavaScript, what are the various fundamental building blocks are available? We'll see one by one here. Okay, now make a note of this one. JavaScript is a lightweight. JavaScript is a lightweight interpreter-based programming language. Interpreter-based programming language, which can be used to implement the custom business logics, which will get executed inside the client side. That is, JavaScript logic will be executed inside the browser level. Inside the browser level. By using JavaScript programming, we can implement the custom business logics and complex validations, which will get executed inside the browser level. Now, JavaScript programming won't require any environmental setup. And it will support all the browsers available in the IT industry. For example, Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, etc. JavaScript programming will be used in all the desktop applications and web applications. Done with this? Now, that already we have discussed, JavaScript is supporting all the object-oriented programming principles as well. Now, previously, while introducing this as JavaScript, it is purely the client-side programming, but it doesn't support any object-oriented programming principles over the time. But now JavaScript is using in every programming language. When you go to any application, okay, they're using JavaScript. Like for example here, by using this JavaScript, we can able to build various kinds of applications. Like we can able to implement the client side validations. That means inside the browser level, if you want to do any validations, we can use the help of JavaScript here. Without doing the validations at the server side, we can do the validations at the client side itself by using JavaScript. Second one, by using this JavaScript, we can implement the complex validations also, complex business logics also, which will be executing inside the browser level here. We no need to go to the Apex programming to write those business logics, those operations we can do here itself. Third one, by using this JavaScript, we can implement rich looking field user interfaces. Like we are having the developer console. You know the developer console editor over here, where we are preparing our classes, we are writing the business logic. So whatever the developer console editor that we are using, that complete editor has been purely built upon JavaScript. It's purely built upon JavaScript programming here. So that means here in this case, we can able to use this JavaScript to build our own custom editors also over here. Depends upon the application requirement, we can build our own custom editors also by using this JavaScript itself over here. And then, so when coming to the JavaScript, by using this JavaScript, we can able to do the synchronous data loading also. Automatically, we can able to load the data also with the help of this JavaScript programming here. Like for example, I think everybody having the interest on some cricket matches, right? Now, even though the people are in the class that watching the cricket score here. Now, so now in this case, the cricket scoreboard will be keep on refreshing for every 2 seconds, for every 5 seconds, for every ball, for every over, for every run. The score will be automatically refreshing over there. Then how it is refreshing in the background, they would like to load the data asynchronously, automatically here. It will be loading the data automatically for each and every few fraction of seconds. So now in the case, in order to do the asynchronous data loading, we are using the help of JavaScript. And then whenever we are having drag and drop options over there, wherever we have drag and drop options are purely implemented through JavaScript only, not by using compiler based programming. Only by using interpreter based programming only, this is possible to implement, okay, the drag and drop options over there. When you go to our schema builder, there we have used the drag and drop options feature that is purely built upon JavaScript programming here. Okay, now in that case, by using this JavaScript programming, and then we can able to implement the complete custom applications. Like for example, nowadays the people are watching using some smartwatches here. Like it may be from any manufacturer, they're using some smartwatches which is having some health related features. It is counting that how many steps that you have done today, and then your pulse rate also, BP also, sugar levels also here, everything, oxygen levels, everything it will be checking that. So now, whatever the smartphones that we are using, which is having all these features, now these features they can implement with the help of JavaScript. And then by using this JavaScript, they can able to implement drone programming. Nowadays, we are using the drones in so many places. Okay, especially when coming to the shootings also, movies also here, video cameras, the people are going to be using drones. So now the drone programming also we can implement with the help of JavaScript. And then, so we are implementing some games also here. As part of your mobile also, as part of your PC also, we are implementing so many games. Games are running very fastly in the local system here. Okay, inside the local device, game will be running very fastly here. So for that reason also, in the game development also, the people are using JavaScript. So JavaScript is using in so many places. That's what I told you. JavaScript is a very, very powerful programming. Don't neglect this JavaScript programming here. Based on this JavaScript only, so many libraries, so many frameworks has been built. Like nowadays in IT industry, we are having so many client-side frameworks are available here. Like AngularJS, Knockout.js, Extension.js, Backbone.js, React.js, Mean Stack, so jQuery. Like there's so many frameworks are available. All these frameworks are purely built upon JavaScript. Okay, that's what here AngularJS. That means it's purely built upon JavaScript. So this is a library. It contains some collection of ready-made built-in features we can use as part of our application development. So now here in this case here, as part of this JavaScript, we are having all these benefits. So whenever we are implementing our own client-side business logics here, we can use the help of JavaScript. That's what here JavaScript is growing very fastly. JavaScript is providing so many functionalities as part of these releases as well here. Now, so initially they have introduced the first version of the JavaScript over there. Then they have introduced second version, third version, fourth version, fifth version, sixth version, seventh, and the eighth and the ninth version. Now we are having JavaScript 9. Now, JavaScript is providing latest releases also by adding some latest enhancements where the people no need to write much business logic manually by their own. So most of the business logic they're providing built-in, and then remaining features we can implement by our own. The flexibility is available as part of this JavaScript programming. Now, so in this case, how can we use this JavaScript programming to build the business logics? We'll see one by one here. Okay, now make a note of this one. JavaScript supports all the object-oriented programming principles. JavaScript supports all the object-oriented programming principles. Now, benefits. First one, we can implement the custom validations which can be used to validate the data at the browser level. Second one, we can implement the custom business logics or custom client-side business logics, which will get executed inside the browser. Next one, we can implement the rich look and feel user interfaces, which contains drag and drop features. Wherever you are having drag and drop features there, that will be implemented through JavaScript only here. Now, we can implement the synchronous data loading in the backend based on the periodical intervals. JavaScript will be used to implement the mobile gaming applications, drone programming, smartwatches, etc. JavaScript supports all the browsers. JavaScript supports all the browsers. Now, note. By using JavaScript, so many frameworks has been built like as below. I'm giving like that. jQuery, AngularJS, Node.js, ExtensionJS, Backbone.js, React.js, etc. Done with this over here. Now, so now here in this case, let's see. So as part of this JavaScript programming will be used in all these places. Upon implementing the client-side validations over here, client-side business logics also, upon building drag and drop features, while performing database operations, while implementing gaming applications, drone applications, smartwatches, everywhere we are using this JavaScript here. Now, that's what JavaScript is, very, very powerful programming language. And that too, JavaScript is purely a case-sensitive programming language. This is one of the painful things that we need to digest. Okay, because if it is an Apex programming, as of now, we don't have any difficulty while writing the Apex programming code. Because Apex is not a case-sensitive programming, we can write the code in any character case, but in JavaScript programming is purely a case-sensitive programming. Upon defining the variables, upon using the variables, upon writing the code, we need to take care about the case sensitivity. Okay, if you're changing the character from lower to upper to lower, it won't accept that here. It will show the error message. Okay, so that here JavaScript is purely a case sensitive programming language, so we need to take care of case sensitivity upon writing the JavaScript code. Now, so in this case, where we can write this as JavaScript code, JavaScript code can be write inside any HTML document over here. Upon preparing this HTML document, inside this HTML document, you will be having a script tag. So we are having body tag by body. That means body of that HTML document. In this body tag, we can able to use script tag here. In this script tag, we need to write the JavaScript code. We need to write that JavaScript code. Whatever the JavaScript code you want to implement, we can write that JavaScript code inside this script tag of your HTML document over here. Now, so now we can use the Java programming also, Python also, wherever you want, you can use it. Everywhere the people are using JavaScript. Okay, so without JavaScript, we don't have any application nowadays in IT industry. It may be Java-based applications also, .NET-based applications, SAP applications, Oracle-based applications, Python-based application, including Salesforce applications also. Everywhere they are going to be using this JavaScript libraries. Okay, clear? Now, so in this case here, where we can able to write this JavaScript code, we'll see one by one here. In order to write this JavaScript code, that already I told you, it doesn't require any environmental setup. We no need to install anything over here. We no need to create any specific account, okay, to write the JavaScript code. Directly, we can go to the browser here. Go to the browser. Inside this browser, just you can right click on this. You will be having an option called as inspect. There is an option called as inspect option here. Click on this inspect. Now here you will be getting an option called as console. In the right panel, we are having this console option over here. Click on this console option. Now here we can able to write this JavaScript code here. So here we need to write a JavaScript code, whatever you want. Okay, this is one way. Okay, this is one way to write the JavaScript code over here. Now, second way is we can use the help of an editor called as Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, Visual Studio Code Editor here. The editor will look like this here. We are having VS Code Editor. By using this VS Code Editor also, we can able to write that JavaScript code. Then what exactly this Visual Studio Code Editor? So where to install, how to install this VS Code Editor, how to connect with our Salesforce are, I will show you in tomorrow's session with practical. Step-by-step navigation, I will explain this editor over here. Sorry? Right. Inside the browser, how can you save? We can't save the code here. Only one line of code or two lines of code we can write, but lengthy programs we can't write, we can't save anywhere here. Now, there is no governor limits concept here. Browser is only to write some small pieces of code to execute the JavaScript code here. Okay. In order to execute that, okay, JavaScript code, whatever the engines are required, those engines are available inside the browser level. But we can't prepare any files inside the browser itself. Okay. Here we can able to create our own JavaScript file. We can write the code. We can save into a local system here. Whenever you want, you can execute through the browser itself. That facility is available. Okay. Now in this case here. Now as part of this JavaScript here, how can we define the variables and how to write the code, everything we'll see with the practical use case. Now, so in tomorrow's session, I will show you how to install this VS Code editor over here. Now, this VS Code editor is must and should for Lightning Web Components. If you want to develop any Lightning Web component, compulsorily VS Code editor is mandatory. Without this VS Code editor, Lightning Web Components cannot be developed. We don't have any other options over there. Okay. For the Lightning component, that means Sara components, developer console is enough. But for Lightning Web Components, VS Code editor is must and should. We don't have any other editors over here as of now. Only VS Code editor will be supported here. Okay. Now, make a note of this one. JavaScript is a case-sensitive programming language. JavaScript is a case-sensitive programming language. Hence, while writing the code, we have to take care about the case sensitivity. We need to take care about character case. JavaScript code will be included inside the script tag in the HTML document as below. Now, JavaScript provides a collection of fundamental building blocks as below, which can be used to implement the client-side business logics. For example, variables, data types, operators, output statements, conditional statements, iterative statements, arrays, objects, and functions. These are the various fundamental building blocks are available, which we should be aware of as part of this JavaScript program. But practice is very, very important in JavaScript. It's purely programmatical part. If you're strong in JavaScript, then Lightning Framework will be easy for you. Simple. Okay. Now, because whenever we are writing this piece of code in Lightning Framework, when you compare the ratio of JavaScript and then the Apex programming, 20% Apex programming, 80% JavaScript. Observe the ratio here. 80% is purely on JavaScript, 20% will be only on Apex programming. Now, that means usage of Apex programming is very, very less in Lightning Framework. Most of the features we're implementing through JavaScript, including your SOQL queries also, including your DML statements also we can do through JavaScript. We'll see with the practical. Without writing even a single line of Apex programming code, I want to fetch the data from the object here. I can insert the records, I can update, I can delete, I can do everything through JavaScript itself. Okay, because when moving forward, Salesforce people wants to avoid the usage of Apex programming in your Lightning development. They want to make it everything through client side. So if it is the client side, everything will be executing in the browser level. It won't put some load on the server. It will improve the application performance. That's what here they're mainly focusing on the Lightning framework. But initially, we're introducing the Lightning framework in the 2016. That already we know the first Lightning framework has been introduced by Salesforce. Okay, that is ARA framework in like 2016. Now in 2016, they have introduced a Lightning framework that is called as ARA framework. That has been implemented through a open source programming called as ARA programming here. They have used ARA programming. Through the ARA programming, they have implemented the Lightning framework that is called as ARA framework. Okay, to make your application development will be very faster, and then we can make these user interfaces can be accessible through mobile apps as well. Okay, now, so now here in this case, we're introducing this ARA programming. They have introduced heavy coding over there. They have introduced heavy coding as part of ARA programming. That's what here in 2016, Lightning framework is a failed model from Salesforce. Lightning framework is a failed model from Salesforce. So many clients didn't show interest to use Lightning framework because they have to write huge lines of code. To write that lines of code, they need more developers. It will take more time for the application development. It will be increasing the budget of the project development also here. So that here, because of these constraints, so many clients didn't show interest to use Lightning framework. So Lightning was a failed model that came from Salesforce. But in order to build that Lightning framework, Salesforce people has invested some billions of dollars. So Salesforce people were unable to digest that one of our major implementation is failed. So that here, Salesforce has given that Lightning framework also, along with the Classic as a free from their onwards. Initially in 2016, Lightning framework is a separate license. Classic license is separate, Lightning license is separate over here. From 2017 onwards, they have introduced both the licenses. That means whenever you are purchasing the Classic license, Lightning also free for you. Okay, you no need to pay additionally for Lightning framework separately because Lightning was a failed model in Salesforce in 2016. From there onwards here, they got an idea here. So now in this case, if I'm charging separate amount for Lightning license, nobody will show interest. Our major implementation will be getting failed. Our whole effort and the investment will be getting waste. So that here they have given that Lightning framework also as a free along with the Classic license. Okay, so that here, so now from there onwards, people have started using Classic and Lightning both from there. Salesforce is keep on promoting to use Lightning experience by introducing some new features more in Lightning experience in each and every release. So now slowly they got succeeded now here. Now they have promoted most of the customers to migrate to Lightning experience. Now, in that case, so many clients raise the concern in Kara framework, we are having huge coding, so we need more developers required, we need more technical skilled people. So finding this kind of workforce will be very very difficult. Finding this kind of technical people will be very difficult here because people are learning C programming, C++, Java, .NET, Salesforce, everything. The people are not learning JavaScript. They're not familiar much with the JavaScript over there. So now in that case, finding JavaScript people is very, very difficult. For that reason here, Salesforce people made this functionality simplified by introducing their own framework, that is LWC. In that Lightning Web Components, they have reduced the complete coding over there. So coding is very simplified in LWC. That's what here Lightning Web Components is more successful in from Salesforce. So that more number of clients are migrating their application from Classic to Lightning Web Component or RR to Lightning Web Component. Okay. Now, so now here in this case here, so now as part of this JavaScript programming, JavaScript is a very, very powerful programming which we'll be using in all the applications here, including every technology. Now, so now here as part of this JavaScript programming, we are having so many fundamental building blocks are available here, which we can use upon building the business logics. Like we have data types, we have operators, we have output statements, we have conditional statements, iterative statements, arrays, objects, and the functions. These are the features here. If you are familiar with this feature, Lightning framework will be simple. Okay. If you don't know this is JavaScript, then writing the code in Lightning framework will be very, very difficult here. Now, so let's see each and every feature. We'll see one by one here. How can we implement? We'll see this practically. Okay. Now tell me, do you know this word variable? Yes. We have discussed in Apex programming also here. Now in Apex programming, we did the complete fundamental concept. If you know that this is JavaScript fundamental concepts are simple, almost 80% similar. Okay, no difference. 80% will be similar here. Now 20% is different over here. We'll see those differences as well. That's what I told you. If you learn the fundamentals of one programming language, okay, reading or understanding remaining programming languages will be very easy for you. Okay. Now let's see. Now tell me, what do you mean by variable? Right. So basically, variables are nothing but the containers. Variable is nothing but a container which contains a value, okay, which contains some value inside that. So now simply we can say, as part of Apex programming, we have discussed here, variable is nothing but a name which has been allocated to the memory location, okay, in order to locate a value. Now, we are storing some value in the application level inside the memory. That memory will be having some address. In order to point to the address, we are giving a reference name that is called as variable. So here as part of JavaScript programming here, variable is nothing but a name, or variable is nothing but a container which contains a value inside that. Now, so now as part of this JavaScript variables are purely case sensitive. JavaScript variables are purely case sensitive. Whatever the name that you have given for the variable, with the same name we have to reference in the entire program. Okay. Now suppose for example, assume that I'm having an Apex programming here. In my Apex programming, I'm defining a variable here, integer, some customer code. I'm assigning some value here. Now, whenever we are accessing this variable, we can access like this also. Customer code, okay, plus equals to 4,500. Because here in this case, what happened? I have written that okay, C is a capital upon definition. Upon using, I have used that C is small. You can use it because Apex programming is not case sensitive here. If you do the same in your okay JavaScript, it will show the compilation error message here. Variable customer code is not exist because JavaScript variable names are purely case sensitive here. Whatever the name that you have used to define the variable in the entire program, we have to reference with the same name with the same case. That's what I told you. JavaScript is purely case sensitive programming. So variable is nothing but a container which holds some value inside that, which can be stored the value temporarily during the application execution. It won't save the value permanently. It will save the value during the program execution over there. Once you are closing the browser, automatically memory will be released. The value will be lost. If you are running the program again, then again my code will get executed. Automatically memory will be reserved. It will hold the value inside the variable here inside your browser level. Now, so in this case, when coming to the JavaScript, variable is nothing but a container which contains a value which can be used to store the value temporarily for some time during the program execution. Now, in this case, how many variables we can define as part of JavaScript? Depends upon your application requirement, depends upon your business logic, we can define n number of variables, also no limitations. Then, in this case, whenever we are defining the JavaScript variable names are purely case sensitive. JavaScript variable names are purely case sensitive here. Now, in that case, how can we define a variable in JavaScript? Whenever we are defining the variable in JavaScript, we have to use the help of a keyword called as var. Var keyword. In JavaScript, variable should be defined with the help of var keyword. Var means variable. Okay, var means variable here. Now, so now here in this case here, as part of this JavaScript, upon defining the JavaScript variable, we have to use the help of a keyword called as var keyword. Okay, understood the concept here? Any type of variable we can define. It may be numerical also, string also, boolean also, date also, array also, object also. Anything we can define by using var keyword. Okay, understood the concept over here? Now, so now here in this case, you can raise a question. Sir, I'm going to define a variable in JavaScript now, like some var customer code, var customer name, var balance amount, var active status. Like that, we are defining some variables over here by using this var keyword. Now, so in this case, can we assign the value for this variable? Yes. Because when we go to the Apex programming, we are going to be defining the variable initially. Later, we can assign the value. Or upon definition, also we can assign the value. Here also the same. As part of this JavaScript programming, here also we can define the variable and then we can initialize the variable also in a single statement. That means upon defining the variable itself, we can store the value here. Like customer code equals to okay 4590. We can write like this. Okay, or else just you can define the variables initially. Later also here we can assign the value for these variables as well here. Okay, all the options are available. Same like as your Apex programming fundamental concepts here. Now, whenever I'm going through these concepts in JavaScript,